Hello, and welcome to the Old Farm Bus Podcast. This is the Back of the Bus session.
Hello and welcome to the Old Farm Bus Back of the Bus Sessions podcast. Today I've got my mate in with me. I'm very excited about this. So let's dive in with Daniel Tindall from Make Ready Men. You got to bring the energy, baby.
It's good.
Not many people go with the yeah.
No.
Well, it gets me excited for it.
I like it. I'm excited.
Puts me in the mood.
Don't let my face fool you. I'm very excited.
Podcasts, have you done many? Is it your vibe, your cup of tea? How do you like to go about sharing your information, mate?
I've done a few. I'm normally...
Are you the
I'm
guest
normally a
or?
listener. So
Really?
I prefer listening.
You've got your own though, haven't you?
Yeah.
Or
I kind of stopped it for a while.
how long were you doing that for?
Not too long. Did it for about a year. I think I did 9 episodes. Editing.
What was the vibe?
It's good, just conversations with the guys about mindset.
Different guys or?
Yeah, different guys. Health, mindset. What we can do to control and improve our lives. So that kind of thing.
Well, mate, was it called Make Ready Men?
Make Ready.
Make Ready.
Ready podcast.
So is that your business then, Make Ready?
Yeah, Make Ready. Yeah.
And then you just add another word on to what you're doing at the time? Like
Yeah, so Make Ready Men is the website. Make Ready was taken. It's like a textiles company. Yeah, and because I'm aiming at a lot of everything I do at men, so it seems to fit.
Mate, I must say, I really didn't know what to expect from the men's circle. I was very hesitant to come down. I'm going to be honest with you.
But you did.
Yeah, you pinged me a message across. I'd followed a few of your things and liked the look and the vibe of what you're creating, but I just, I had preconceived ideas of what I might be coming into. And I remember I'd been to a school in Cheshire, so it's quite a way away.
Yeah.
And I got back and I was absolutely knackered. Real long day. But I've decided now, if I say I'm going to do something, I'm doing it. Unless it's a really emergency or something. But I've been a flaky guy in the past, and I don't want to be that guy. So I knew I'd committed, and I thought, right, go on, just you make an excuse. If you go for an hour, and then you can find a way to leave, that's fine. I came down, met by the smiliest bloke, you. Really lovely energy. Sent me around the corner. And you've got like a sacred space.
Yeah, it's very special.
It's stunning. And everybody around that fire was a beautiful person. They came, they met me, they shook my hand, they gave me a hug. And straight away I thought, you're not going to go home tonight. Well, that's it. You've got me, guys. But you're not going to go after an hour.
Yeah.
I committed to being at the space then. And again, apprehension, not knowing the vibe or what we were going to talk about, but you just owned it. You'd clearly been doing it for a long time, and you held the space so professionally but humbly. I just loved it. And you've opened a door and unlocked a thing for my life. Like, I genuinely have to come to this, or I really want to. Don't like the have to, because then, you know, I'm tied to something.
No, we all have choices.
I really want it in my life. I absolutely love it. So how long have you been conducting it for? When was the moment you thought, right, men's circle?
So we kicked them off last July, actually. Yeah, so last July we did our first one. And been running them fortnightly since, and they've just grown organically and word of mouth, and
Mate,
gradually bringing more men in.
what was the first one like?
I think it was good. I was nervous. It's different from what we've grown up with, right? Like this honest communication, this talking from the heart. So I'd been to a lot of retreats, Buddhist retreats, and done a lot of work. I was kind of in this environment, self-development, spirituality. So yeah, bringing that to men who maybe hadn't was like, yeah, big first step. But no, it went brilliantly.
You've been to a few yourself then, previously?
Yeah, a lot of my experience was with mixed circles, mixed retreats, mixed gender.
Is Alexa on? Oh, Alexa, stop. Yeah. I could just hear her in my little headphone. I thought, I'm sure Alexa's having a sing-song.
Piping up.
Yeah. So, sorry, you've been to a few yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I started a lot of this work in Buddhist retreats. So our sharing circles were mixed gender. And then got into, sort of discovered exclusively men's work not long after. And yeah, that space to be heard and listened to and create community with other men was completely different from.
So for somebody listening to this, because we're going to start running them, you've got Little Eaton. Is it your quarry?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
What a
it's
space.
amazing.
You've got Little Eaton, and now we're hopefully going to bring it down to the farm for whenever we decide.
Yeah.
Definitely through the summer, I think
Yeah,
we've got
for
a
sure.
special space.
Yeah.
What can people expect in that 3 hours of a session?
Yeah. So fire.
Yeah,
Got to
yeah.
be around a fire.
Number one.
Yeah, that's it. We're around a fire outside in nature.
Sold.
That's it. Because for me, that's a really important aspect. It's not, as I get new venues and go forward, probably not safe to have a fire indoors, but there'll be something, a focal point to gather around. But like the evening really is about connecting. So I'll open the space and then have a meditation just to bring us into the space and be really present. Phones are off. We're there. We're connecting. There's opportunity to share. So the sharing element is kind of the focal point really of the circles. That's the main intention for the circle, is giving each man a platform to just unload and just voice whatever he's got going on in his life. It doesn't have to be bad stuff. It can be the good stuff, but it's just to share with other men who are going to sit and listen and be very present. We're not going to be on our phones. We're not going to, be waiting for you to stop speaking so we can chime in. Because that's a lot of the way our interactions go in day-to-day life, is people don't really listen because they're too busy waiting for a pause to like recite a related story or give advice. Especially men, we love fixing stuff, so we love giving advice even when it's not warranted.
Mate, come here.
Yeah, that's it.
I've got ya.
Yeah. And also importantly, a space where you're not going to receive banter back for sharing stuff, because it's not conducive to solving problems really, or being heard. It makes light of situations that for that person may be really delicate. For you, it may not be, but for that person, so it's sort of honouring whatever they're going through is true for them. So yeah, it's just a space where we each take it in turn to talk, and everything's welcome.
Then we have a bit of a break, don't we?
Yep.
And then there's a bit of a discussion after.
Yeah, so I kind of that's my feminine flow in the end bit. So I'll either do a talk on something, whether it's mindset, whether it's a bit of spiritual philosophy that I think's
Worthy.
Yeah, worthy and relevant.
Yeah.
Lifestyle stuff, maybe a discussion that I've seen on social media that everyone are arguing about. Well, I might bring it to the space for us to talk about, but in a more grounded way, a more intellectual way, and how it relates to us. So a lot of the stuff I talk about is how can we change what we're going through by internally what we're going through, controlling the controllables to change our lives. We're not there to sit around in circle and complain about all this other stuff that we can't change. It's like, okay, right, how does that relate back to where we are now? And what can we change now to create action in our lives to then change our lives. So it'll be either a talk or a discussion. And again, the discussion is just done a bit differently from when we normally do it. You know, we sit, we listen, we wait. Once someone's shared something, there's a pause, and people will really think about whether they have something to contribute and how they say it. So there's no over talking, there's no back and forth, and it's kind of providing that environment in which we can discuss things without.
Have you seen it shape over time, and your attitude towards it and way of directing it has shifted or changed?
Yeah, for sure. Like it's been a process, right? It's interesting. You get a group of men together and trying to manage people's egos is just hilarious, you know, because everyone will think they know best, and also trying to get, some people want to talk for 20 minutes where other people don't want to talk. You know, it's just trying to get the space so it flows nicely, so everyone has enough time to speak but aren't taking up too much of the circle. No one's offending anyone by telling them how to live their life, because it's all just projections anyway. It's all our opinions on how we think. So yeah, it's changed over time, and I've tried bits and be like, nah, I didn't like that, and it's hilarious. Like some of the stuff I've put in for one session, I was like, I'm gonna put this in mainly because it's fun. I'm like, how are the men are going to react like that? I was like, no, that was really awkward. We're not doing that again.
Can you think of an example?
Yeah, I made one of the retreats I went to. At the end of a circle, we held hands in a circle and just passed around like a squeeze. Went round, and I was like, how's this going to work in this environment? We did it around the fire. I was like, that was awful. I felt uncomfortable. Everyone felt uncomfortable. That's going.
Mate, that's so cool. But you can be conscious and aware of the situation enough to know, not just push them through it. Because, it's facing...
Do you know what? It's finding the balance between, I want to push these men out their comfort zone, but it's just leaning out slightly so they're going to keep coming back, not so they think... well, hated that, not going back there.
That when I was talking at the start about my concerns, that would have probably been up. Yeah. It genuinely would. The way, how balanced and grounded and humble the whole circle felt, and everybody was on a similar wave and platform and flow. It was perfectly conducted.
Thanks, man.
But any of that sort of over exaggeration for me, and it's my perception of over exaggerate, everyone's got different thresholds, but when we're all holding hands or cuddling for too long or eye gazing, it's definitely a build up. That
you got to build up to that for sure. I think the guys that I did it with had come to a couple of sessions, so I thought I'm going to try it on these guys because I know it's all right to do it, and it just made me laugh because I was like, I'm just going to throw this in. And the thing is, we can laugh about it. And we're like, that hasn't come back. But other stuff I brought in, it's like, cool, that can stay. And the more I learn, I'm going to bring other stuff in.
And humour, what a beautiful factor of life. How important,
Absolutely.
If we're going to have a revolution, we don't want some fueled, boring, placid...
and be really somber the whole time. And be
and
really,
serious.
Really serious.
And everything's doing like this. And when we hold hands, we take it in serious nature. It's like, I've got to have a laugh at some point.
How did that land? No, that's terrible. Cool. Not doing that again.
I really appreciate the space, man, and what you're building.
Thank you, man.
But I do hope when we all get into it more and more, we bring it back for a session. Just to try
bring the hands back. See
a few people that I'm picturing now, I want to look into their eyes.
Do you know what? It's so funny though, like this the whole scene and going through all this different stuff. Like some of the stuff I've done. Going on my first retreat, I was worried. I was like, am I going to get made fun of for not being like hippie enough or not wearing the right clothes or talking the right language? Feeling like weird for not fitting in. So I constantly have to check myself and be like, right, would this have made you feel uncomfortable at the beginning of your journey before you were into this? When meditation was a stretch for you, Buddhism was like, You know, all of this stuff. Like if that was too much of a stretch, then it's too much to bring into the circles, which is why like I'm really passionate about making these circles really grounded so they are accessible. Because I want everyday guys to come and turn up and enjoy it and keep coming back and having that space to share, learn and grow. And don't get me wrong, I will be talking about things that I feel are relevant, but if I talk about Buddhism, I'm going to relate it back to our lives.
Yeah.
So that wisdom, that information is something we can actually be like, yeah, I see that, how that relates to me, and I see why you're talking about it.
It's just so accessible, and that thing you just mentioned then about looking around and thinking, am I wearing the right thing? Am I saying the right thing? Is this the lingo they use? There was absolutely none of that, because we're all from similar areas in essence, and you know, it just didn't matter to me what anybody was wearing. You put these preconceptions on people, don't you? You have these ideas about these are going to be like this is going to be like this. And for some reason, because we're all sat in unity and had that meditation, which I think is really important at the start of it, to still the mind, calm you, when you come back round, you're just there. And then because you've got this space to just say your piece, that it strips everything off, not literally, but it strips everything away, that you're like, oh, I feel a similar way to that. And everybody talking or choosing not to, you can find something in their truth there, if that makes sense. You can go, oh, it's nice to just want to be a listener today. I need that in my nature a little bit more. Oh, that person's really coming forward about their grief and grieving process. I don't think I've gone through mine enough yet. And if you can truly listen and take the nuggets away, it's such a special place. And then it really does eradicate that worry about, am I using the right lingo? Am I dressed right? You're just there then. And that was what came forward, because all them neuroses before, it was so true. I was looking at myself, I was overanalyzing, exaggerated, but it goes in seconds, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I really attribute that to the attitude you put towards it. It's serious, it's authoritarian, but definitely not in another way. Do you know, you really conducted it in the most balanced way I could imagine. So genuinely another props to you on that.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
I'm giving you lots of props today, and you deserve them.
Thank you.
The reason I want you on this podcast as well is to go into that character then and find out a bit more about Daniel Tindall. We can go as far back as origin stories you want to go, X-Men style, but you do fascinate me as a character. How old are you? And not that age is a massive factor, but...
32.
Oh, okay. So there's... Pretty old, man.
I know, feeling it.
Lots of life experiences in there. Have you always been a philosophical, deep thinker, always in mind, asking big, curious questions? And has that just grown to this person I see now? And was there a pivotal moment in the journey? It's a packed question, so break it down for me.
Yeah, I've always been a deep thinker. Yeah, for my whole life. There's a book by Dr. Elaine Aron called The Highly Sensitive Person, and someone recommended it to me. They're like, read that and see what you think. And it's like, she did a study about, I think quite a big study, 10,000 people, and sort of came at like there's, I think 10 or 20% of people are what she calls highly sensitive. And this doesn't mean you're going to break down and cry at any point. This means you're a deep thinker. You experience everything just a little at a heightened sense. Like busy crowds will probably weigh you down a bit more. You know, lots of noise, all of these things. And that put a lot of pieces to the puzzle to me. I was like, oh, okay, that kind of makes sense. And like actually reading that book, I was like, okay, that's kind of reframed my whole life a little bit differently. I wish I'd known that when I was younger, or wish my parents had known that, to guide me a bit differently. But yeah, that was interesting.
She's saying it was quite a genetic thing then.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's genetic. It's been a while since I read it. I need to go over it again. But yeah, it's really interesting. Just in terms of the way you think, the way you experience life, just a little bit different. Just a bit more intense. Which, yeah, it's funny looking back at the times when I've sort of looked at people and think, "Are you thinking?" You know, I just look at them and I'm like, "Are you thinking before you speak? Like, what's going on in there?" And it's actually not a reflection necessarily on them. Sometimes it is. Don't get me wrong. People don't think before they speak that often. But it just means I not overthink, because I don't like that term either. I just think more deeply about everything. And I was like, that's what it is, right? So yeah, I grew up thinking deeply about everything.
Is this preschool as well? Can you?
I don't know. It's hard. My memory of school's fading,
Yeah.
and you know, what I remember from my childhood is I found growing up difficult because I was sensitive, got bullied a lot all through pretty much primary school and secondary school up until I got to my last secondary school, which was awesome. Things changed.
Quite a strong family though.
Not necessarily, no.
Okay, yeah. Don't have to dive into it, don't we? But
I spent a lot of time on my own, like in nature, growing up. It was quite good. It was good, really, in that respect. I was out in the fields. So similar.
Where were you based?
Sort of Northampton, Milton Keynes way. So
my
gradually
dad's from Northampton.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's where he grew up.
Oh, wow.
Okay, and wait, you were sort of in a rural area in Northampton?
Yeah. So I grew up on sort of my parents like horses, so similar to you.
I'm feeling there's a lot of common connections between us. I'm waiting for that moment where we go, okay. And there's a few. There's growing up being a sensitive kid, being a deep thinker, bullied was horrendous, and a huge factor of the person I am now was shaped by all of that. And yeah, problemed childhood in my family dynamic. It's shifted now, though. It's funny as you mature and you grow up, because I had such a callous attitude towards my mum, and it shifts in and out. But now I really respect her. I fully understand the journey she'd been on, the life she had to lead to get to where she needed to be. I get it. It's just a bit too hard for a kid to understand and go through. There was not much love in the house. Lots of absence, lots of aggression and shouting. But, you know, it's not a sob story. It's not to stay victim to it either. But it's important to establish it. It's important to understand it.
Understanding and awareness.
100%. And now, being the character I am, I've overcome it, and the things that she was demonstrating and displaying are really good. You know, she's a powerful lady, really beautiful in how she can conduct herself in front of anybody. It wouldn't matter if she met the Queen, whoever she met, she's like, no, that's not right. And I'm learning to find the truths in that and implement the good sides of that in my life. So I've learned a lot from childhood, and you get to, as you become more conscious and aware and a stronger character, you get to handpick the bits that are going to work for you in the parents, rather than being trapped by the bits where you go, I didn't get this and I couldn't get that and this happened. You feel a similar way in what you went through?
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of people, and I can speak for myself certainly, hold a lot of resentment for the ways in which we weren't provided for enough as children. And at the same time, I'm aware that I've had a good life in terms of like so many aspects. I've been given so many blessings and opportunities, and which is incredible. But on the flip side of that, sort of, I guess, more emotionally and supportive. And present from a parent to a child, that was lacking. But I love my parents, and I've had a rocky relationship with my mum and didn't speak to her for a number of years. but there was a point, and quite early on, really, I think I spoke to her about back in touch when I was 21. It was just like, I love you, despite all of this stuff I don't like about you and that we've fallen out about, but you're my mum. I love you, and I'm going to focus on the good stuff. And I understand that you were doing your best to be a mum.
Got shivers then, mate. Honestly, that gave me a really nice feeling. I was like, I like you, man. It's a podcast where we become best friends. Like, this man.
Yeah, nice, man. And that's it. And it's understanding where someone's come from. And understanding that they're just trying to do their best. She's trying to do the best she can to raise us kids. And then, especially if I look back, her relationship with her mum, she didn't speak.
Yeah.
So she's trying to be a good mum off learning from a mum who wasn't there, or they've fallen out for whatever reason. So it's like generational trauma is also passed down. But having that acceptance of like, you've done your best and that's fine, but it's my responsibility to take it from here.
That's it. And it must have happened for ancestries and ancestries and ancestries of this conditioning, an idea of this is how we act and this sternness. But it is the beauty, isn't it? It's we get to break the cycle.
Yeah, and that's it.
Learn from it, forgive, and understand they were doing the bloody best they could at the time. They just weren't equipped with all the tools it takes to, quote unquote, be a complete human. When do you ever find that? We're all flawed, and we're getting to this soon. You're going to be a dad. I've just become a dad. And I'm sure there's some unconscious behaviour I've exhibited to Ella already. You'll do some along the line. It's just constantly us learning from the experiences we've been through, what we've really enjoyed about it, what we know we wished we'd had more of, or do, a great word, resentful of, but being able to consciously put that into our children's lives now. I feel so empowered by that. Good. And so hopeful that I have learnt the lessons and I have learnt from the past. And yeah, people do just stay A, trapped in it, be resentful, and then just pass it on. Because it's sort of this punching bag then. It's like, you can have my stuff that I had to deal with. It's like, no, you hated it, so change it.
Yeah.
Make their life better. Yeah. We're in a lucky position through that.
Yeah, it's amazing to have the awareness and understanding that we are empowered to do it. And we've got everything that we need to not pass down stuff, and to look back and reframe our past.
Was it you that said it's bringing the unconscious conscious? I think you mentioned it at a circle, or the...
Possibly. I think that might have been at Tolle.
Oh, that was... Somebody passes it down.
The power of now.
He got it off somebody else.
Yeah, he got it. There's no new wisdom. It's all old wisdom. That's the thing.
But I remember hearing that at one of the circles, and it was the space created. And it's really helped me make shifts and be really listening in. And the second I go into pain, or I go into bad traits of my nature, obsessions, anything, I'm much quicker at recognizing it now. And it was just that, okay, you're acting unconsciously, there's something going off in your life that's not quite clicking. Let's turn to it, let's look at it. And it's rewarding in the end. But that's through an array of things, like you say. Some of it can be genetic, we're sensitive, we're programmed in certain ways. A big factor I do think's in this, from a 0 to 3, 0 to 4, parenting, people in your life, lack of parents and so on. And then the building process from there. You mentioned bullying. What was going on here? Where were you? Primary, secondary?
Both.
Ouch.
Yeah. I think it's like, I don't know. Just for kids are just cruel anyway, but for various different things, like primary school, that's racist. My skin, I was in a very white village, and I had very dark skin at the time. I was a lot darker when I was a kid as well.
Yeah, I've got lovely skin.
Thank you.
Where's your heritage?
Don't know.
Oh, beautiful.
So I just come out like this, and in the summer it's really dark. It's great. But so there was all sort of terms flying around then, and then I started gaining weight, and then it was fat. It was because I was fat, or I think in my secondary school we lived, because we had horses and stuff, we had quite a big house with lots of land, so I was then the kid in the big house. However, you can't do you'd probably be bullied for living in a hole, bullied for living in a big house,
too rich,
too
too
rich,
poor,
too ugly, too good looking. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. So just various things, and I just sensitive, internalized it, probably took it all out on food and myself, because I didn't have the tools really to deal with that. And it was a lot of physical stuff. I used to get beaten up a lot. I've got a great jaw on me now because as a result.
You had some cracks, some proper...
Yeah, like bi-weekly basis for a lot of years.
Did you have any mentors in this timeline then, as well as you've got family? Did you have a teacher come through, or just a trainer, or anybody that you can reflect to where you went, thank God you were there though?
Not through school, sadly.
So it was very lost.
Very lost, very on my own.
Mate,
I've
got a mirror in front of me.
There you go. And you know, this is why I'm passionate about doing the stuff I'm doing, is because I want to provide, and especially we got loads to talk about working with kids and stuff going forward. Like these, like people, men need help breaking down their past and getting rid of these resentments and stuff, and understanding things, and kids need somewhere to go to. You know, it wasn't until I was at the end of my first secondary school, and I just remember like the moment that just all the bullying got to a like boiling point was when I was up on the top field, and this little dweeb was saying about beating me up for weeks. And the thing was, I was just really like, I was a fat, I was like 17 stone, so like a big kid, and for some reason I just had this incredible self-belief that if I wanted to fight and I banged someone, it's gonna put him in hospital. Like, just not proven at all, but I just thought that, but because I'm sensitive and I'm kind, I'm like, I don't want to hit anyone and put anyone in hospital because I don't want to get in trouble or whatever. Like 100 kids, I was like, oh God, they're coming for me. I said to my mates, like, any help? They're like, no, sorry. I was like, cheers. Yeah. So they came over, surrounded me. The kid was sort of trying to square up, and then I ended up getting punched by everyone, like about 5 different kids. And then I just got angry, and he ran away, and I just flipped. And I think at that point, everyone, because so many guys had blindsided me, like big hooks and everything, and punched me, and I hadn't dropped, everyone was like, oh. And everyone had seen me go so mad, and everyone ran away. They were like, oh, okay.
Was it to another level of mad? Like, do you know that rage, the whole character? It was, oh, this is a step we've never seen before.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's like, oh, this kid's not as weak as we thought, and actually there's nothing we can do to knock him down, so we better leave this guy. And funny enough, everyone wanted to be my friend. So I took that into the secondary school. I was like, I'm not being bullied. So I went in just with an attitude of like, I'm not taking it from anyone. And I think it was a mixture of that attitude, and also it's just a nicer school. So I managed to like live out the rest of my school life on good terms.
Unscathed to a degree. Yeah.
Unscathed. Any punch-ups and everything then came from rugby and nights out and stuff.
Rugby. And same story in primary school. Fat kid, always being bullied by the same guy that I still see to this day. And it's all
Really?
the bully is the one that you think, I thought you might have ended up like that in a certain way.
Yeah.
You know where they're going. But again, that comes from, I'm guessing they were bullied at home, their trauma, their not so good existence. It usually stems from madness, doesn't it? So I'm more compassionate towards it now. But it was horror for a long time. But I had a dog that had 3 legs. We were at a little farm before, and he was my pride and joy, everything to me. Because I was so lonely and lost, so I just put all my energy into this dog, and he got really ill. We had a dog each. Mum had a dog, sister had a dog, I had a dog. To the point my dad used to have to carry him upstairs to sleep on my bed. And I remember, I must have been in year 6, but it was the day that he was being put to sleep. And, you know, my mum was a veterinary nurse, so it got to be at home. And she had her friend come over do it. But I knew they shouldn't have sent me to school. And, yeah, they'd sent me in anyway. And I was really just reckless and an emotional tirade. So I got in, and I remember I just heard, "Oi, fatty," and then he spat on my head, the back of my head. And the same thing, the Hulk thing, but I was in no control. I just turned and I was swinging, and honestly, a dinner lady or one of the teachers tried to, and I punched her and started kicking at her, and then I turned back to him, and then I'm just stamping on a kid and trying to kill him. Like, there was no, I just want to cause a lot of damage so I wouldn't do it again.
Yeah.
I was just trying to actually, like, make sure he didn't get up.
Yeah.
And that's being a kid. And I didn't get kicked out because of that one, because they understood the situation, the dog, But I did get asked to leave after that worked, the bullying thing, and turning into the bully in essence, and just fighting back. And that sort of triggered me to always use that as the tool,
Right. Yeah.
if anybody said anything. So that was a bit of a problem in the end.
Okay, that's interesting.
It tipped the scale. Did
Yeah.
you ever turn over to the bully, or would you just protect? You just make sure you were channeled?
Like, even through school, when I was getting bullied in that first secondary school, the amount of times I helped kids being bullied, even
Yeah.
though I was like, well, they're kicking the crap out of me regardless, so I'll go protect that kid as well. Like, no,
I've never been a bully. Yeah, I'm just thinking of that. I was
heard that.
but I'd punch.
Yeah, to be honest, I started martial arts when I did rugby. Then I think I started in taekwondo when I was 17, and really excelled at that, and like lost all my weight at 16. I lost all my weight, and then just focused on martial arts, and I still had that. The thing is, because I like competing, I like testing myself. That was just something from then that I loved doing. But I was still like, if I hit someone, I don't think it's going to end well. And it wasn't until playing rugby, going on nights out, and again, getting all like the scrot bags in Northampton.
That's a great word, man. Scrot bags.
Yeah, I haven't used that for a while.
I'm so happy you said it.
Just reminiscing on my nights out in Northampton playing rugby and going out. They're just, yeah. And it wasn't until one of my friends said, "It's the way you walk, Daniel." I was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "You just walk confidently."
Yeah.
It's like, so you walk into a room, and it wasn't until I stopped drinking and going out, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm getting some unwanted attention. This is how I get punched every week."
I'm gonna guess the position you were at rugby.
What?
Second row.
No, it's a prop.
I was a prop.
Yeah, I was a prop, and then I lost my weight, and they were like, "Oh, you're too small to be a prop."
Mate,
so I went to flanker. I was a terrible flanker, so I went back to prop.
Honestly, after the podcast, me and you are just gonna sit for hours
There we
because
go.
this is crazy. Yeah. Rugby was my saviour.
Yeah.
What team were you for? Who did you play for?
The old Scouts in Northampton.
I was Derby. Played for Derby.
Yeah.
But did you ever get to county and stuff?
No, I think I left before then. I went taekwondo. I started wanting to kick people.
No.
I didn't like the banter and this sort of like, I'll leave it on the pitch. I'm like, no, that guy's just punched me, or he's punched my friend. I want to fill him in now. Oh no, you got to leave it on the pitch. It's like it's gentlemanly. I'm like, no, don't be throwing punches in a rugby game. They're not the rules. If you want to fight, let's fight.
How old were you when you started?
Rugby.
Yeah.
I think I started in school, so maybe at 15. I think it must be younger than that, because I played for a few years. I didn't start taekwondo until I was 16, 17. But there was an overlap there.
Any life lessons in that field then, on the rugby field? As in working with a team, being together?
Life lessons from rugby. I liked the camaraderie and that teamsman. That was good. That was something I don't think I'd experienced before up until then. Then finally being big had its purpose. You know what I mean? I was strong, and I was valued for being big and being strong. Whereas before I was bullied for that. It's like now I found the boys who are on my side. So yeah, that was wicked. Like, and it was good. Training hard, and being part of that team environment was really
like a brotherhood.
Yeah, for sure. It didn't play to the side of me being, obviously there's a lot of banter and stuff when you get groups, so there's a lot of banter, but there was also that kind of that respect, because right, we're going to give each other banter, but we're also going to go on the field. And if someone does get punched, I remember one game, I don't know what had happened earlier in the game, but I think fullback was going to catch the ball. Someone from their line just ran up to him, broke their line, punched him, knocked him straight out. I have no idea what he did. He's obviously pissed this guy off. That was it. Like, our whole team
Chaos.
chased this guy down and kicked the crap out of him. It was massive. All the parents were like, no. But, you're part of a team then, so anyone touches you, it's like, you are like brothers. It's like, I can make fun of you, but if they do anything to you, I'm going to protect you. So, yeah, I love that. And to be honest, that's where actually I first sort of... that's when I started first fighting back, was stupidly on nights out when we were drunk, but with the rugby team, when my friends were being targeted. When my friends were getting spat on or punched, that's when I hit people. And then that's when I realised that, there was a reason why I didn't hit people.
Right, okay.
Because it's not really fun worrying that you've killed someone, because I am sensitive as well, and clean them out, and then I get very upset that I've potentially killed someone.
Had you had a situation like that on the field?
Yeah, several.
Really?
Yeah.
A KO, you look down and you think, oh.
Yeah, because I don't see the point in all this pushing and shoving. If we're gonna fight, I'm gonna hit you. I'm not interested. This is all macho bravado stuff.
Yeah.
No, that's all macho bravado. You either intent on fighting or not. I'm not in the macho bravado game, never have been.
What are your thoughts on fighting then? And I suppose we're getting into masculinity here and this territory. Where do you stand with it?
So I went from taekwondo to MMA at uni, and been on and off for MMA since then. So I started martial arts when I was 16. I'm 32 now. I've been doing martial arts for 16 years.
Wow.
I did taekwondo, MMA, freestyle wrestling, and then back to MMA. And I last fought in 2019. Had 4 fights. So I started off at heavyweight. I was fat, got fat again. I was fighting 6'7". The first 2 guys were 6'7". I'm 6 foot. They were 120 kilos. I was 113 at the start of the year, and yeah, they were big boys. And finished off at middleweight. So I've been training for a long time, and enjoy it. And relatively, I'm pretty good. I'm not the best. I could be a lot better if I had consistently applied myself. I like fighting. I think I think it's beautiful. Like, martial arts is a beautiful thing. Really understanding how to use your body for that specific purpose. I believe it's something every man would benefit from doing. Because you learn a lot as well about yourself, but where your limits are as well. I think it's really important. I think there'll be a lot less macho BS in the world if people were punched a bit more in a gym, because they just know, like, it doesn't matter how big you are, how good you are, there's going to be someone who can kick your ass,
humble you.
We'll all have our good days, we'll all have our bad days, but there's someone bigger and harder out there. They might be smaller and harder than you as well, which is often the case. So,
quiet, small.
Yeah, it's the quiet guys, like, who aren't doing all the pushing and shoving.
For somebody that didn't get fighting in any way, shape or form, and they would equate it to 2 animals like reindeer or deer just running at each other and bopping heads. What would you say to them to explain it's got so much more gravitas, so much more spirituality or lessons to give than just it's two animals running at each other and the stronger one prevails?
Yeah, I think there's lots of elements to it. I think to be good and good enough to compete, you've got to train and apply yourself. So consistency, discipline, self-control with your diet. You've got self-control with your fighting. It doesn't matter how much of a thug you are. If you come from the streets into the martial art gym and you want to fight, you can't be going around thumping people outside of in your fight camp. You might break your fist, So whatever it is, you need discipline and self-control. There are people who are just thugs and they are good at fighting and they've just found their environment to thrive. But I like to think that hopefully those thugs have learned a lot of other good things from martial arts. The problem I see, the bit I don't like about fighting, about MMA, about all of this stuff, are the gobby ones. To be quite honest, but that's me. I've never been that guy. It's all macho BS, and I get it sells fights, sells tickets. But my problem with it is when you get the people at the very top doing this stuff, who do people look to for inspiration? You've got all these kids who think it's okay to, be gobby and make fun of people's family, religion, like all of these things, all in the name of banter. No. The people that I really like, like GSP, who was he's a martial artist. And this, I think, is also part of the problem with MMA coming up, is that it loses a lot of its grounding in true martial arts. It loses its discipline and its respect and its hierarchy and stuff like this. And it can be that you're just teaching a bunch of little boys to be good fighters, and they're going around acting like little boys, throwing tantrums, but they're really good at fighting. It's like, great, you've just equipped them with all the skills to be deadly weapons, and they're still acting like little boys.
You've made a dumb killer.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it serves a lot of great things, and I do believe that learning to fight is really important. Learning to defend yourself is really important. I'm not on board with, I'm just peaceful, man. Just peaceful. You can't protect your peace if you're harmless.
That's a good saying.
You can't.
That's a great saying.
You got to protect, you've got a little girl.
Yeah.
Your partner. If someone's gonna broach you and attack you, you got words. Okay, that's the first line of defense.
I can do a poem.
You can do a poem and completely strip him down and make fun of him.
Psychoanalyze him.
Yeah, that's it. Psychoanalyze him. Do it all
Run
in love.
crying.
Yeah, but ultimately, when push comes to shove, you need to be able to defend yourself. You need to be able to defend your family, and not just that. All the other things like where's your pecking order being humbled is really beneficial for, I think, every person to be doing so in the right environment. Humbling someone on a big scene when they're not ready for it can be very dangerous. That's when people go and get weapons and stuff and completely overreact. But if you do it in a gym environment around teammates, and that's not even made into a big deal, but it's just it's like that body shot you weren't expecting. You're just like, oh, yeah, okay. Yeah.
But GSP is a good example because he never had to use this bravado and putting on the BS. So where do you think it's emanated from in the recent times? Not just characters, but why have they felt the need to go down that path? Because there's probably certain big names we can think of that aren't actually that way inclined, but they felt it wasn't selling their real attitude, their authentic selves, and then they shifted. I think Colby Covington admitted to this. A lot of people say he's actually a really nice guy, but he'd never sell tickets. So the second he moved into this controversial, wild, let's be an idiot character, it started doing well. But why are people buying into that more? Just more exciting? The energy there? I don't understand why.
It pleases the crowds, doesn't it? And crowds are easily...
But why are crowds...
I don't know.
That way inclined?
Toxic masculinity.
Yes.
Ultimately, like, we're showing that is the way of showing bravado, showing we're big and strong.
We like conflict, don't we?
I like conflict. It's funny. Some people find it funny, even though that actually, if we break down what they're doing and what they're saying, it's not very funny.
No.
It's really immature.
Lots of swearing.
Yeah.
Calling him an idiot. And yeah, I mean, I suppose there's so much, again, an array and a magnitude of possible ideas.
I think a lot of it, like, I don't watch MMA. I'm not gonna lie.
Right, yeah.
If I'm training for a fight, I'll try and watch it. I've always been a doer, not a watcher.
Mate,
like, so I've never watched sports, and it's always been a big barrier to me making friends. Or like, you know, if I meet my partner's friends, oh, so what team do you support? Oh, I don't watch football. Oh, you're a rugby guy. No, I played rugby. Oh, do you like MMA? Yeah. Oh, you watch UFC? No. Just shut that. No, sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't watch sports, but I would assume a big reason why people are giving it all the mouth to sell tickets because they're not being paid enough anyway. And we know there's a big.
And like you
don't
say,
get
though,
paid much to be an MMA fighter. That pays nothing.
for the people in your field, though, that then look towards that, get inspired by that, and start implementing that in your circles, it taints the sport entirely.
Yeah.
All the way down. So yeah, I suppose it's a conditioning, isn't it? If we're looking at what's on TV and we're looking at people in the news and whatever, I'm the Big Brother. I mean, what made MMA so famous? It was the Ultimate Fighters, wasn't it? And it's like watching Big Brother.
Yeah.
The best bits and the clips and the YouTube things that probably have nearly 5 million, 10 million, 20 million views are the ones where it's fights in the house or so on. And they're having the little conflicts, not in the cage, and they're not looking at all the incredible technique and what it takes to be a fighter.
They're watching the little boys throw tantrums.
There
at
you
each
go.
other.
So yes, but that could be a factor. But the fact that it's filtering into actual gyms and around people in your circles, it's an unnecessary part of the game. Would you say it's more so your mentality though in people? Quite humbled. You love what you do. You love the sport, and when you're sparring people in that gym environment, the egos aren't actually as ripe. Do they get sniffed out quickly?
Yeah, they're few and far between.
Right.
Which is the good thing.
That's good.
It's been beautiful. I've been in my gym for years now. Ultimately, anyone who's started as long ago as I did, they're either very experienced pro fighters now, or they're the coaches. But it's been really nice seeing some of the young lads who did start off with all the ego, and they still got some of it, but they have matured a lot, which is really nice to see. And there's a couple of guys in my gym that I respect massively because they are at the top of their game, but they don't act like these big mouthy people, and they talk about their family men. They talk about their families, talk about loving their partner, loving their children, like all of this stuff that's deemed by a lot of guys as not macho to talk about, but they're putting it up on social media. And those guys, Madders Fleminus in Cage Warriors, and Jordan for Chainek, who's world champ, putting their stuff out there and they're wearing their hearts on their sleeves, but they're hard. And they're wicked fighters, but they're wicked guys.
These are the pioneers I want to be looking towards.
Yeah, they're to me, like, they do stand out to me as men who, and Jordan's a young lad as well, but what he puts out there, it's nice. It's just nice to see. For me, it's nice to see people who are like good men, but also killers in the cage. They're good fighters at the top of their game, and they're talking about real stuff as well, which is awesome. And just being around them.
I love that you aren't afraid to talk about aggression and fighting in channeled ways, because I think after I went through a bit of a problem on social media, there was a bit of a campaign for me, and my masculinity was questioned in so many different ways. I did feel I neglected it a bit, and I feared talking about what it is to be a man, how I feel with my masculine energy or anything like that. I'm at boxing. I thought, am I just a brute?
Mm-hmm.
Is this how I come across? Because I really love that side of me. Literally, I get so bored of doing weights.
Yeah,
It's
me too.
rubbish.
Hate it.
But I could never, ever get bored of boxing.
Mm-hmm.
There's never been a side of me that doesn't want to spar somebody. And what it is for me, it's the working somebody out and really trying to, like a jigsaw or like a puzzle, a chess piece in front of you, work out where they're going next. And if you make a mistake, that's a maximum consequence. You're going to get punched in the face or knocked out, whatever it is. So it's so exhilarating to me and exciting. But I stopped talking about all those sides of my nature for a bit. I just love hearing you own it and be like, no, the masculine energy wants to showcase this side of itself. It's all about learning to discipline it, channel it, use it in the right settings. And that's empowering.
It is. I think there's this big campaign against masculinity in society. True masculinity is little understood, I believe. We see a lot of toxic masculinity, which is put in stuff like strength, toughness, money, these things as an over-exaggeration of what it is to be a man, because they're not the sole things at all. They're not inherently core to be like super callous, emotionless, and just be really hard. That's not what it is to be a man. It could be an element of it, to choose to be to put your emotions aside to get a job done. Yeah, that's part of being masculine direction. Being able to defend your family, yourself. Yeah, I really believe in that. And people might say, yeah, that's just because you got bullied. I'm like, yeah. But I can talk about my feelings and emotions, and I can talk about fighting all in the same energy. I'm calm, I'm relaxed. And I do believe a lot of that is because I'm very grounded within my physical body. I'm very aware of my capabilities, and I'm very aware of my limitations. I'm not the hardest person, but I back myself against most.
Yeah.
But fully prepared that I get my ass kicked at any situation. Someone has to pick up a bat and hit me with it. Does that make sense?
It's a really strong position to be in self.
Yeah. I believe in my skill set,
assured.
right? I believe that I've dedicated a lot of my time to martial arts and to being able to defend myself. I also run a lot, so if needs be, I back myself running. Hopefully, if it depends how quick they are, but over distance, I'm quite good. I can plod a long way. But it's just being grounded in yourself. It's like having that, actually, I'm okay against the majority. In most situations, I've got a way out.
Yeah, it's true confidence. And we try and negate away from what we actually are. We're animals with certain systems in the brain, like the fight or flight or so on. And there's so much stimulation at the minute of things going off in certain ways. We're looking at our phones. I suppose that the reptilian brains thinking it's on fight or flight a lot of the time. There's always something around the corner. But if you're already built to be able to look after yourself and you're strong in that, it's gonna humble you but calm you in such a way that you're not always on edge, because you're like, okay, yeah, maybe there is stuff happening, maybe there is danger around the corner, but I've got it, I'm cool. And if you're just throwing down potato chips and you're eating chocolate and you're just sitting there docile, you're probably in this state of, oh, if it did go wrong, I've not got my back whatsoever.
I don't truly believe in myself.
Yeah, you lose that belief in self. It's great saying. And
I believe that's why we see a lot of violence when men are drunk.
Amen.
Like, I used to work doors growing up, so I understand about conflict situations. I've seen a lot of fights, been part of a lot of fights when I was drunk. But a lot of it is because this is where the other element of being masculine comes in. There's the physical element and there's the emotional element. Okay, so a lot of men, because of society, because of patriarchy, have told us to suppress our emotions. That emotions are bad. They suppress our emotions. What happens when you're drunk? Oh, the emotions come out. All the cracks start to become crevices into valleys, and then all the emotions come out, and then men get emotional. And if you don't know how to process them, if you've spent a lifetime of not even listening to your emotions or like admitting you've got them, start lashing out in ways that are deemed masculine. Fighting. Oh, I feel really upset about something. I'm drunk, don't know how to process my emotions. I'm gonna go punch someone.
Yeah.
If I can't go find a girl to go home with, I'm gonna go punch someone. And I think that's because there's a lot of boys who never become men because we haven't been taught how to. Don't know how to process emotions. Aren't embodied because they haven't connected with their bodies. Truly connected. They don't know their capabilities and limitations as a man. They haven't tested their mindset. They haven't tested their strength in a safe environment to do so. It's like the men's circles is the emotional environment, right? That safe space. That's the emotional cage. You've got the physical cage of MMA. And I think there's a place for both of them. There'll be a lot of people in men's work like violence is not necessary ever. No, that's I'm gonna swear bullshit.
Yeah,
that's bullshit.
You're warranted to swear, right?
I'm gonna swear.
You do that.
I do that because I've decided. Okay. That's bullshit. Like we need to at least know our limitations, and we also need the tools to defend ourselves. And then we need the same with our emotional side. We need to be able to, and this is a big thing I find is we need to be able to hold ourselves through our emotions. We need support networks, which is where like the men's circles comes in. This is where therapists come in, coaches, all of these other tools we can implement. But we need to hold ourselves in strength and reassurance and understanding as a man that you have a little word with yourself. You're like, I'm feeling really crap at the moment. Things aren't okay. Right, what do you need? I need to cry. I'm struggle doing that. I'm going to go put on Marley and me and cry.
Yeah. Marley, that'll do it.
That'll do it,
That's
man.
the big dog, isn't it? Oh, God.
No.
Yeah.
But, do you know, it's okay that I cry because I can get on with stuff. I'm human and I need to process these emotions. I need to feel these emotions. I might have to keep coming back to this. And I speak about this a lot. It's about like we then provide ourselves with that strength and structure that is all right, dude. Do you need to feel sad? Cool. Go. Let's go feel sad for an hour and a half. But after that, we do need to implement a bit of emotional regulation because we got work to do, and we need to go turn up. But it's when society says, or men have taken it as we can't ever feel emotions, so we're going to bottle them down. And then with our fabulous drink culture, the way it is, it comes out.
When you mention that, you give me flashbacks to so many times. I've done it, but I've been with friends that have done it. And it's that not just only are you letting all your emotions out in that one space where you can't be rational with it and think through the process of it, but also the slight bit of rational mind comes in, or the conscious mind of, oh my God, I'm crying in front of another man.
Yeah.
And then you beat yourself up because you're doing something that you shouldn't be doing, quote unquote, definitely should. But you ask that question. So that's where the aggression comes through. Yeah. And you're like, no, you shouldn't be seeing me like this. And it's sort of the same with depression. There's so many things where you beat yourself up for beating yourself up, and it goes on this vicious cycle. And I've had friends that are like, don't look at me, man, I don't want to cry. And then you're like, no, I've got you, bro. And then they want to fight you, like, I've told you to go. And then you're just in this, honestly, there's so many nights out where I'm like, no, I've got you, bro. Oh, I wanted to laugh. I wanted to laugh because they're genuine moments outside of clubs, sitting down when we've just got back, having an after party or something, and you have them deep, heartfelt, really unnecessary moments in them times. Yeah. And it just goes so south where you think, this is my moment to do it. Start sending it out, and you're like, oh no, this is gonna turn very
I'm
sour.
unraveling 'cause
Yeah,
I'm drunk and there's no off
no
tap
thought
now.
process.
No thought process. It's yeah, go on.
I was gonna say what I really enjoyed this part of the conversation, and I was just thinking of some of the traits and aspects of what is masculinity and being a man. What are the expectations? What does healthy masculinity look like? And this big buzzword now,
Still trying to figure that one out.
the toxic side. What's the two, and where does it shift over?
Yeah. So yeah, it's a journey I've sort of been on and still going through because I'm aware that some of my partner will call me out on it. She's like, I think you're being a bit toxic masculine there. I'm like, yeah. It's normally when I'm going to calling one of my dogs, they're both boys, a pussy for I don't know, just being scared of everything.
You
She's
can't
like,
call your dog
I'm
a
being
pussy.
toxic masculine to my dog. I know.
Trying its best.
It is. Bless him.
You've humanised its thoughts process. Going through a totally different experience, that dog.
Yeah. So yeah, like toxic masculinity is just putting certain traits above, like not having emotions or feeling emotions or succumbing to your emotions. Physical strength, violence is seen as a good thing. That toughness, like money and power. But it's when they're put on a pinnacle above all other traits, that's where it becomes toxic. And the problem is, it's when they're blown out of proportion. So the rest of men, boys growing up, can't even feel like they're going to achieve these super tough, super stoic, super powerful and rich. Like, it's so out of their league. But they're trying, and that's when in the trying process, the toxic masculinity causes a lot of damage. That's why boys will fight to try and show that they're tough. They'll start abusing people to show they're tough. Violence against women is because they're trying to show they're tough and powerful and in control, which obviously absolutely means they're not. And a lot of it's because of patriarchy has persecuted women and the feminine in female bodies, but also the feminine in men. So our feelings, our emotions, being creative, that kind of thing has been suppressed a lot in society. Therefore, we suppress our emotions down, don't acknowledge them, and it comes out in negative, toxic ways. But if we look at healthy masculinity, that a healthy, say, more well-rounded man is someone who is very centered, so not too one way, not to the other, but very grounded and can see through things a little bit more, with a little bit more clarity. And a lot of that comes from an assurance or an understanding of their self, but experience as well. And the masculine is like very purposeful. There should, ideally we'll have a purpose to our life and know our purpose. And it took me many years to sort of find what I believe is mine. But whether that's sort of an overriding, this is purpose, could be a job, putting money on the table. And then understanding feelings and emotions, and that we have them, and being strong and being able to access them and express them in healthy ways, I believe is the true sort of testament to a healthy masculine. So it's also being able to set boundaries, what is acceptable for me in life and what isn't, and enforcing those boundaries, whether that's verbally or if needs be physically, i.e. you're not allowed to come into my house.
Yeah.
I'm going to physically back that up.
What, you getting in a triangle?
Yeah, exactly. Very simple. And it's having, for me, it's balance, right? And a healthy man balances his feminine. We all have these feminine and masculine energies in us. It could be yin and yang. It's push and pull. All right. Sometimes we need to have time to grieve. If we've lost someone very close to us bottling it up and be like, it's fine, just get on with it, it's life. That's not helpful. You can get through life, a portion of time with that. But soon enough, it's going to catch up with you unless you allow yourself to grieve and feel these emotions. So being a healthy man is someone who will allow himself to feel and will reach out for support if he needs it. And more often than not, and I don't care how many people say I'm fine, you're not an island. And we are designed to be in community, right? And we need help. I got to where I am by reaching out. I got a mentor. I got a therapist. You know, I got someone who's way ahead of me in terms of their spiritual and mental development to guide me. You know, and before that helped me a lot through after school. I had coaches. I had my sports coaches, which were all very, very important in my life, and my dad. My dad's been a fantastic guide. My granddad when I was younger as well. So I was lucky to have and lucky to have them. But this healthy masculine I believe, is having the balance of all and embodying that.
When you say granddad was a great guide, what sort of wisdom would he pass on?
He was the one who got me into martial arts. Like,
my guy.
Yeah, I used to stay up very late with him and watching all the old Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan movies and stuff. Yeah, lots of fond memories with him. He was the one who was always like, stick up for yourself, and he also taught me to laugh at myself as well. Like, there's a kind of balance between taking yourself too seriously and just having that understanding that people are going to make fun of you. You need to a certain extent, laugh it off. Humor. Lots of humor. Yeah, and he, you know, he had his flaws, as we all do. But for me, he was a fantastic guide and someone that I could go to when I was growing up. So yeah, I think for him it was humor, and he brought the martial arts into my life. So very grateful for that.
I love hearing people's mentors and pivotal figures along the way, and the different bits of wisdom that they imparted down that line. It's just being receptive and open and listening out for it at every moment, because that person that you least expect it from, or have sort of pigeonholed or labelled as though they've got nothing to give, they're probably doing something very powerful actually behind all them closed layers that you've got to them.
And this is, absolutely. What I think we need to try and do is look at the message and not the messenger. All right. So
that's
like,
nice.
We can learn something from anyone, and it's only our ego that will stop us, or our prejudgments of someone. They're not as far ahead of me, or they're not ahead of me, therefore I can't learn from them. And it's actually, no, you can learn something from everyone. So take your ego out of it, put that aside, stop speaking and listen to see what wisdoms are coming through. Because I think if you listen to everyone, they'll all have their own wisdoms. And especially with the men's circles, the beautiful thing about them is that, and you touched on it earlier, is that you can listen to what every man's going through. I guarantee you've either faced something similar or you are going to face something similar, because we all get very similar struggles in our lives. They're just packaged differently. So there's a huge amount of wisdom there to be learned, and a huge amount of connection there to feel, because you're like, oh, I'm not alone. I've dealt with that. And I felt so alone. I thought I was the only guy ever to deal with that, or I just felt so alone at that time. And you're like, oh yeah, I'm with you, brother.
With the feminine, masculine energy, there are obviously anomalies in people. There's more masculine females and more feminine men, and it intertwines a lot. Why is it predominantly the masculine in men overarches the feminine energy? We have both, but when you say is masculine the predominant element in a man?
Generally,
yeah.
So generally speaking, across the population, if we're looking at male and female sexes, most men will be in their masculine pole most of the time. Most women will be in their feminine pole most of the time. That is generally speaking.
Yeah, and then there are anomalies.
Within that. You'll get some women, and more women now than ever, I guess, are more in their masculine poles.
Right.
And there's a whole load of explanations for that, not least patriarchy is trying, because patriarchy suppressed the feminine and females for so long, there's this fight back for equality. Absolutely on board with that. But the way I see it, I think one of the problems is that women are now like, I want to be equal. I want equal pay, equal this, great. But it's kind of in a man's world. They're still playing the men's game. So a lot of the qualities that they need to possess to get equal pay, equal standing, are masculine qualities, which is like direction, planning, like very thinking, logical, structure, aggression, like being cutthroat, and tenacious. A lot of these are like masculine energy qualities, so therefore they have to be in their masculine energy. They're not necessarily getting rewarded for being feminine, for being rewarded for being women. They're like, actually, you need to play the masculine game here to be rewarded. That's my interpretation of it, and it might be wrong, so don't come and lynch me, please. But
no, that's really fascinating. I've not got a thought on it of yet, because I've not heard that before or ventured that path, but how you've just worded that is really, and articulated it, it's very interesting. And I suppose my question there, what is it? Chemicals? Is it the way the brain develops? Why we're predominantly in our masculine pools and women are predominantly in their feminine? But obviously you've just explained through society why they're going more into the masculine pools now. But what we were saying before, is it testosterone? Is it the brain development? What pushes us more into the masculine pools as men?
I'm kind of winging it now because I don't know. I haven't got you a concise answer, but it'd be genetics. Because if men were in their feminine, they'd probably be not very good protectors. They wouldn't be aggressive. And it is genetics. Like, aggression is genetically, men are more aggressive than women. Testosterone. It's
really is as simple as...
It's as simple as that. But that's one element. The rest of it, you probably look into like the collective unconscious and stuff. And a lot of Carl Jung's work, stuff I do on archetypes, is all from the psyche, where Carl Jung believes it's all genetic. Ultimately, it's all ingrained in us, these things.
That's helped me on my path, the Carl Jung and the archetypes and the shadow work. Really interesting. How old were you when you discovered that?
Not long ago, man.
Was it recent?
Yeah, recently.
And have you implemented that into your life?
I still am. Like, do you know what? I'm still learning. Like, and this is a thing, and this is why I'm not uncomfortable here, but like being interviewed and stuff like this, and even like stepping up and leading these circles, it's like, man, I'm doing my best here. I am learning. I am not the complete article. I'm not going to be the complete article because there's always so much to learn. It's the same with mixed martial arts. The longer I've been doing it, the more I realise I don't know. There's so much to know, and I'm not...
What is it? The more you know, the less you understand.
Yeah.
I love it. But that, honestly, I'll give you another props, but that's what comes across. It's the authenticity, it's the honesty of, I'm not a full article, I'm learning, I'm trying my best, I'm always going to do for better. And that really shines through. So thus we can all search together, and that's why we podcast, that's why we have these discussions and conversations, because we're all working it out. And if you find something, or Gus or myself or whoever finds something along the way that's really benefited their life or been a beautiful discovery, or the opposite and it's really not worked, we can put that forward and we can go, oh, thank you. Adds to the collective. Adds to
sharing our signposts and our potholes. We're like, watch out for that, or go that way. That you might benefit from that.
It wouldn't work, and I've felt it before. It feels icky where somebody acts and becomes the shaman.
Like, trying to be the guru.
We went to the same schools together. We're in the same classes. We're on the same journey. We've had the same vodka-fueled nights. We've had. And now one of us is trying to creep up a level and top trump the other. That's the ickiness. But genuinely, that is, again, props to the space, props to you as a person. But it doesn't feel egoic. It doesn't feel unconscious, at least. Because even if there was ego to be there and put on a certain character, as long as there's a conscious attitude behind it, that's the importance for me. Does that make sense? It was me on a stage. We were talking earlier on the garden, and as a poet, I'm not just gonna get on a stage and pretend I'm eradicated of ego. I've got no sense of this character, Mikey Mark or Rhythmical Mike. It propels me to go on and do well and be a cool performer. But if I just get run away with it...
Yeah, and it's having that middle path, the balance,
Yes,
what I always talk about. Because without ego, you wouldn't be on that stage.
I completely
because you wouldn't
agree.
have any feeling of self-worth or... you need a certain feeling of self-importance to be able to... be somewhere in between.
Yeah.
You need a certain feeling of self-worth and self-importance to be up there on the stage. We need a certain feeling of that to be here putting out a podcast and talking to one another.
And hoping there's some gems within it down the line.
And it's just understanding that we're all human and we're all imperfect, no matter how perfect that we pretend to be. And I think just being as authentic as possible, and I think that comes down to like masculinity as well, is stripping away the ego and the bullshit. Strip it away. Strip away this persona.
No more pressure then.
No, there's no pressure. There's no pressure to perform. All you have to do is be yourself. And if that's not good enough for people, is understanding that that's okay. But they'll go, and people who actually like you for you will take their place. And those connections will be deeper and more meaningful. And you'll be able to have the talks you want to talk. And like ultimately, all the other macho BS doesn't matter over time. Like people like authentic people.
I've had friends who have had smear campaigns or been besmirched or certain things happen, and they say, I've asked them to come on the podcast, and I said, oh mate, actually I went on a podcast before and there was loads of nasty comments on their YouTube. I don't want to do that for yours. I'm like, mate, I know you. I know your intentions. I know your loving heart. I know you're a compassionate person. I know it was all taken in the wrong direction. I don't give a shit about them people. Do you know what I mean? I don't care if they're going to come forward and do all that. If they're living in this horrible pool, this bubbling up of always wanting to drag down, make an assumption, be horrible towards somebody, it's just their life to live in.
Yeah.
I don't have to focus on it. I can look at 10 comments, be like, oh, you're a this, you're a that. Just be like, cool. If there was one nice comment of somebody saying, this really helped me, this genuinely give me that nugget I need for the next elevation and step in my life, we've done our job. That's all it is. You've got to have belief in self, authenticity in self, and also other people. You've got to trust that you understand people that you're working with and operating with. And I started to really tune into that part of my life too. It's all so empowering and so important. Other elements towards your life that I want to go down. You was mentioning about workshops and with kids and stuff. Have you got an idea of what and thoughts towards it, how you'd help younger kids? Because I love the idea of catching them before all this mad conditioning starts happening. That's really beautiful to see. What would you do? Have you had any experience in that yet?
No, I haven't. As you know, I'm about to become a dad very soon. So
Hey, my brother.
yeah, I'm gonna be in the dad gang, and I have to bring them to your muck out Mondays.
Do you fancy that? Yeah.
I'll send the missus down with the kid.
Oh, mate. Do
you know what though? What's been great for me is having a niece. It's like prepping, and actually, I'm like, okay,
on the sly.
Kids aren't so bad. But it's like I'm all right. But yeah, I fancy it. I really think it's important for the kids is to have good role models. This is why I'm so passionate about men's work, is because I want to get to the men who are then influenced. I want the men to become better leaders in their lives, in their families, in their work, for the leaders for themselves, to, you know, self-parent and also parent and be better role models. You know, and that's why I'm passionate about helping men, and also because of the mental health side of things, and really giving them that space to process. But also we need to, I didn't have those people when I was a kid. I didn't have people looking out for me, didn't asking me how I was, or as simple as, Daniel, you shouldn't be getting punched all the time. If you punch someone and you hurt them, I've got your back. You know, like being told that, if I was to, you know, it's just a little bugbear of mine. I just wish I had that, like, little install. Okay, whatever I do, if I'm defending myself, it's okay. Okay, there's some boundaries around that, but hit the guy back. Like, you don't have to be super nice. And just understanding a lot more stuff, just having someone there. And I think there's a lot of kids out there who don't have present parents. So if you can provide a space for that, that's incredible. And then teaching kids about emotional awareness and all of these things. The way, I don't know about helping kids at the moment, martial arts, I think, is a great one, because it is connecting to bodies and to their bodies.
We've got the summer coming, mate. It'll be quite nice to do a bit of outdoors martial arts stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good, okay.
Yeah, it'd be cool. I can do that. Like, just
it's
stuff
like we're having a nice business meeting on the back of the bus now. Like, oh, good idea.
But
We've solved it.
I'd be really interested in that, man, because I think martial arts is fantastic. I really do. My kid, I don't know what gender it's going to be, but whatever, it's going to be a martial artist.
Yeah.
I'm not going to force it on, but like my partner's, I've already said to my partner, and she is a very sort of girly girl. She's a very feminine woman. But I've said to her, I was like, do you fancy doing martial arts? And she said to me the other day, she's like, Daniel, I want you to teach me how to fight after the baby. I'm like, yes,
it's
great.
It's my time to shine.
Come on, grasshopper. But like, because she sees the value in it.
Do you think your best coaches that you've had down the timeline have not been the ones that have just shown you the best technique, but also the best mindset?
Yeah.
How would they do that as well? Do they implement it every so often, or do they have sit down talks with you?
Both. They've been guides, and given me their time and their presence and actually care, ultimately.
And I suppose just displayed it as well. That be the change you want to see. If that is the energy and the people you get to look up to and a pioneer in this, it starts to emanate and build across, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, my dad, a good example, he's never sat me down and said, son, you need to be more like this or act more like this. But he's really been such a compassionate, kind, playful, humorous man all his life. And when I hear people at a pub, because he was quite a good footballer, he played like semi-pro level, but when they talk about him at the gym, they're like, you Dave Markham's kid? We look very similar, bold and stocky.
Yeah.
But I'm like, yeah. And I've never heard anybody say a bad word against, not one person has said one bad thing against him, all just this loving thing. So I'm putting two and two together and going, okay, there's something he's doing right.
Yeah.
And I get to be the grasshopper and look up and go, okay, that makes sense.
That's amazing. That's beautiful. And I think that they're the type of role models we need, right? Especially as men. Like, to be confident and authentic enough to be happy, kind, loving, not even happy, but just being authentic, whatever, that is, and leading with love is a big thing I
That's
teach.
a good saying.
I did a workshop on leading with love at the men's retreat I did the other month.
So many things to talk about to you.
And it went down so well, like that, surprisingly well, because that's something like I'm like really passionate about. I'm like leading with love, and I'm like, how's this gonna go down? Because is that gonna be, especially as talking to men about this stuff, they're like, but it's really important. and having the confidence and confidence in yourself to lead with love at every opportunity.
I just wanted to talk about the 4 fights you had.
All
That
right,
was
go on
one
then.
thing I just thought, because how lovely this chat's been.
Yeah.
But I'm a fan for a bit of wild. What was the first one? Is that the first time you've been in a cage?
No, so I fought when I was about 20, when they were discovering the rules for amateur MMA. So I think it was 5-minute rounds, 4-ounce gloves, which is what the pros use, but there was no, I think we could knee to the head, but there was no ground and pound. 2 5-minute rounds. And then I fought again, and I had one fight, didn't fight again for 6 years because I had loads of fights fall out and life got in the way. In 2016 I had a couple of fights then, and then 2019 I had 4 fights.
Right. And with these fights, channeling your emotions, nerves, how have you grown to channel those? Are you okay getting in the ring? Do you feel the nerves bubbling? And did you get better towards the end, or is it similar feeling every time?
Nerves wise, I haven't really struggled with nerves fighting. I know it's not the same, but Taekwondo, I competed a lot, like freestyle wrestling, and there's a surreal moment going in preparing for the fight. I don't normally get nervous until sort of walk out or get warming up on the pads before I go in, and there's this surreal moment when my entry music goes on. I'm like, this is really weird. I might go to the toilet. I was like, I'm going to fight in a cage in front of a bunch of drunk people, which aren't the type of people I'd hang around with. Like, this is just really bizarre. So it's a very surreal moment. Don't get hugely nervous. There is on that walkout, then you're like, the heart starts going. You're like, oh, okay, there it is. But beforehand, like leading up fight camp and stuff, it's just I'm focused on fighting, which is great. My problem's been aggression, man. Like, not gonna lie, I'm just and this is why it's so funny with, like, because I found this path, my hair's long now and stuff. Everyone's like, thinks, oh, Daniel's done with fighting, and no, I fully intend to get back in the cage. And they're like, oh, really? I thought you're done with that. And to some extent, like, I don't need to go in and fight again. I know that. I've had some fights where I've gone 3 rounds, and, like, in fact, one of the fights in 2019, I absolutely my ass kicked in the first round by Lucas, this Polish guy. It was at 93 kilos when I got down to light heavyweight. I've never been hit so hard. I had 3 cuts, bearing in mind we're not allowed to elbow or anything, and it was a 3-minute round. My face was just bleeding everywhere. Like, I had 3 cuts, and my brain was just gone.
Really?
I got battered first round.
Mate.
I finished the round with one of my arms behind my back and him just hammer fisting me. I'm so grateful that the ref didn't stop it, because it was towards the end of the round. And then I came out in the second round, and my teammate was like, Daniel, is he hurting you? I was like, yeah. He was like, you need to fight. Like, you need to go. I was like, okay, cool. So I went out, and he was knackered. I'd exhausted him from punching my face so much. I got him in an anaconda choke and finished it. So
Wow.
yeah, that was like, I've proved how tough I am. You know what I mean?
Take it, yeah.
So I don't need to go back, but I want to go back. Why? Because I really would like to see if I can really channel that warrior, that controlled aggression. And it might be that I can't, and that the only times I've ever got aggressive enough to really hurt people would be defending my friends and family. And if I'm that guy, then I'm that guy, and I'll be like, okay, cool. But I believe through the work that I've done, through the understanding of the archetypes and meditation and stuff, I believe I can channel it. And I was kind of getting there. The good thing about the way I am when I fight is I'm quite clear thinking, if I think. Yeah. But I'm like, I don't get overrun with a need to knock someone out, or like, I'm quite calm. It means I can listen to my corner.
So if they run at you, you're not flustering, you're not panicking about the situation. You're right. Okay, no, cover up, move.
Yeah, I need to do this. Yeah.
Wow.
If I have a chance to think.
Big skill.
Yeah. that fight I said about, I did not have a chance to think. I think I got punched, and that's it. My brain was gone for the rest of the round.
Reminded me of a Simpsons episode where Homer gets in a ring and I find out he's got this special protection around his brain. He just keeps letting them get knackered out and then he just pushes them over.
Yeah.
Always wins the fight.
Yeah, that's it.
He fights Drederick Tatum, who's basically based on Mike Tyson. And the first punch he gets punched is like, oh no.
Oh no. Yeah.
That would be a Mike Tyson thing.
Yeah, that's good.
You think you're going to go for it again then?
Yeah, I'd like to. Obviously, I'm gonna have a kid in the mix soon, but I'm back training fairly consistently. Like, to be honest, I'm not. I've got a habit of going all or nothing. I'm trying to be consistent, so I'm just going twice a week. Sometimes I make it 3 times a week. I'm running again. My aim is just to get my weight down, just see how I feel. Definitely competing in jiu-jitsu, grappling as soon as I can, because that's something you can just hop in. Like, you're not going to get hurt. You might do, but it's very rare that you would, because you just got to tap, and I'm not an idiot. I will tap before my arm snaps. So, like, at least get me competing there and get my skills back up. But I would like to go back in and test it.
You're only a baby, mate.
I'm only 32.
Yeah. It's the new 22.
I keep myself in pretty good shape, so I'd like to get back in, but that's just for me. That's not because I have to prove I'm hard or tough anymore. Like, and that's a big difference for I've learned over the years. Like, masculinity and my journey certainly is like, I don't have to prove that I'm tougher than all those people who beat me up. Like, I knew it back then. I was still tougher than them all back then. I just allowed it to happen. And the difference is, emotionally now, I wouldn't let it happen. And yeah, okay, I've been in the martial arts and in the cage and fought and stuff, but it's now no longer because I feel like I need to. It's because I want to.
Yes.
And because I want specific outcomes. Like, I just want to go in and perform the way I know I can. So I know I could be good. I don't want to basically get to 40 and still regret not performing, having my look back. I want to look at a fight and be like, that was it. That was how good I know I can be, and I'm happy at that.
I love what you're saying there, though. It's a decision. And that difference between want and need is so dramatic.
Yeah.
If I need to be there, what you're basing that off of, what you're comparing it to. But it's because I really want to be there, I've got this thing to fulfill, that's you deciding, right, this is for me.
Yeah. And do you know what? I'm also open to saying, I'm going to be a dad in like 3 weeks, maybe sooner, maybe a little later. Hopefully not too much sooner. But it might get 6-9 months, a year down the line, and be like, actually, I don't need to do that. I don't feel like I want to do that anymore. Like I did a long distance running in lockdown because I couldn't get to the gym. So
you best start doing your podcast again, man, because you've got so many dynamics and things to talk about. This is wicked.
I won't go off on a tangent on
what
that. But for me, it's just pushing myself, man, and seeing what I'm capable of, because that's one of the biggest things. Like, before Make Ready Men, it was Make Ready Mindset. Now, it's what I do implement a lot in coaching, is mindset and men's work.
That's another avenue.
There you go. But mindset, like, we need to prove ourselves. We don't need to prove ourselves, but I believe to get the best out of ourselves, we need to push ourselves. And we're not proving ourselves because it's not a standard we need to live up to, but to push ourselves just to see what we're capable of, I believe is quite important. And whether, for me personally, whether that's in the cage fighting or on the grappling mat, doing jits comps,
shows
or doing
yourself to yourself, doesn't it?
runs. Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, what am I capable of? Wow, amazing. I ran a 50-mile ultra around my local park in lockdown. As a 98-kilo bloke who didn't run before lockdown. I went from not running, a year later, running 50 miles. Absolutely battered me.
Wow.
But I was like, oh, wow.
I'm sure there's some discoveries along that path.
Yeah. It took me like 14 hours or something.
Wow.
Like, there's 14-hour meditation there.
Oh,
and that reveals a lot.
Did you have music on?
No.
No podcasts?
No.
Just you? Wow.
Me and my crazy thoughts.
Whoa.
And my pain, obviously.
Yeah. But I'm sure after a while, the physical sort of diminishes and you get to this state.
Yeah. And I'm back running now, just doing 10Ks, which 10Ks are now a struggle because I took a bit off. But now I'm back in, getting used to it.
What do you run a 10K in?
I'm a slow runner, man. I'm a plodder.
You do.
Yeah, I'm a plodder.
Enjoy your time.
And annoyingly, I've moved somewhere where there's no flat. Like I used to run along a canal path, which was just really flat, so I could just tick away at that. And now I've got hills and stuff. Yeah, that's it. I'm like, nah. But yeah,
we're 2 hours in. We've
Let's
smashed
snip it.
this.
Yeah.
I want to snip it, but the thing, because I don't know when I'm going to get to podcast with you again, and something we've mentioned a few times, and is important, and the people that have stayed up to this end, they're going to stay to the end. Okay. The parenting.
Yeah.
Just give us a rundown, how you're feeling, any expectations you put on it, where you're at with the whole process.
Yeah. It's interesting. I never wanted to be a dad. I didn't think it was on the cards for me, right? And then I met my partner, and I knew she wanted kids. So I was like, okay. But that coincided with leading the men's circles as well. Actually, by stepping up and leading the men's circles, made me realise that actually maybe I do have some good things to pass on to a kid. One of the things my mentor told me is like, one of his, he analogizes
We're
everything.
taking it.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a word, but it is now. Everything with shit. So it's like basically, as like when we're trying to break down what I'm going through or whatever, it's like, well, your parents, when you're born, you get this bar across your back, and then on the end of each bar is a bucket, one from each of your parents, and it's just full of their shit. So you're going through life with these invisible buckets of shit, and they're going like that, and they're just everywhere. Shit's flying everywhere, and they basically that's from like their emotional stuff that they haven't done. So they just passing down all their unfinished stuff. This is why it's so important, I believe, that we do the work so that our kids have less of it. We empty some of the shit for them before we hand them. Ideally, we'd hand them empty buckets. Not going to happen. We're gonna give them some shit, and even if we're aware of it, it's going to happen because we're going to do it in other ways. But we're going to do our best, right? So that made me realize, okay, maybe I'll be all right. Like I'm going to do my best. I'm going in with more awareness, so I'm looking forward to it. I live in a cabin caravan and a yurt at the moment, and a yurt it's a Mongolian structure. It's like a wood frame with a canvas over the top. So it's an interesting living arrangement. And I've basically just been doing all the practical stuff to get ready for birth. We've just done a wet run today we're having a home birth, doing the pool and everything. So for me, it's been I just need to make sure that this is happening and this can happen. So I haven't thought too much into the parenting and how it's going to change my life. My partner's like, I just think you're in a bit, blissful ignorance. I was like, yeah, I kind of am. But what's the point? I can't. The baby's happening. It's happening. I'm going to do my best at the time. I've got books. I've downloaded some books on parenting because I am passionate about doing my best as a parent, and make ready means to be prepared. That's my brand. It's make ready, prepared. Prepared for what? Prepared for anything. And I think as a man, you should be prepared for everything and anything, especially if you're having a family. It's down to you to do the preparation. And I've been told a lot that there's no handbook, there's no guidebook, we're just all winging it. Actually, I call bullshit on that. There's a hell of a lot of books out there. Yeah. There's a lot of research we can do. And there's a lot of self-development we can do to make sure we can be the best parents we can be.
So it's when it's unsolicited advice.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of parents that tell you how to parent before you've asked the question.
Oh, for sure.
There's a lot of information, guidance, wisdom out there, but I think the parent needs to go through the hurdle, struggle in the hurdle, and then go and ask for the help. And a person can go, oh, here you go. This is what could be done. And listen to audio books and have the preparation for it. But it's like we were saying outside again, everyone's got a plan A until they get punched in the face.
Yeah.
And then it is, you think, oh, I'll have all these ideas of how do I help them sleep? How do I get them moved into the bed? It's all theory. It's all worked along the way.
Yeah.
But then you'll find out, oh, I've got the anomaly, have I?
I've
got the one that doesn't work with. And you have to go to different parents. And the thing you said there about the buckets of shit's really good. I used it as, I've always a supercomputer from birth. And you've got this collection of people coming and adding to it all the time. And then suddenly there's wonderful information being put on there, but you get viruses every so often. But then thinking about that, the viruses are just as important, because when you learn how to get rid of a virus and eradicate a virus out of your system, you've had a lesson in that.
Yeah, and you're putting in more good information.
And if all you ever do is try and not leave a child unscathed all the way through life, that's a virus in itself.
Yeah, because that's going to
when they get
cause damage in itself.
When they're 20, 30 and they eventually experience true pain, the loss of somebody, and they've not been prepped for that because it's all tried to be this glorified, beautiful rainbow life. That's even an unintentional virus being programmed in, because you've tried to give them that. So you have to, what you've just said perfectly is, do your bloody best.
Do your best. That's
Really.
And that's how I'm sort of feeling towards it, is I'm just going to do my best. And doing my best by understanding that I have a lot of power, and I am empowered over myself and my feelings, as well as what I learn and what I can help empower my child and my partner to be this little family unit. Understanding all the influence I've got, but all understanding as well, there's a whole lot of stuff I can't control. And also, I'm a human, which means I'm not perfect, which means I'm going to make mistakes. And understanding that I need to be loving towards myself and not beat myself up, and that actually there'll be minor mistakes. If we make mistakes, there'll be minor, and it's not like the end of the world. We haven't scarred the kid for life, hopefully. And we'll just carry on. We'll do better next time.
Oh, mate, it's a good place to get to, isn't it?
Yeah.
We've got to a nice part of the podcast. Can you let everybody, this camera here if you wish, let them know where they can contact you, more information, everything you're up to, let them know.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm at Make Ready Men, or at Make Ready Daniel on Instagram. Website, makereadymen.com. Sign up to that, subscribe. We've got a retreat coming, a big retreat at the end of the year in the Lake District, October time, beginning of October. So it's gonna be wild swimming, hiking, men's work, martial arts, all the good stuff in there.
Skinny dipping.
Oh, maybe some skinny dipping, holding hands. But yeah, subscribe to my website, because that's all details of men's circles. Get down to the men's circle here at the Old Farm Bus or in Little Eaton, and hopefully more venues coming soon. So,
mate,
yeah.
What a wonderful podcast.
Thank you,
really
bro.
enjoyed it. Thanks for being here. I'll do my bit. Guys, you've been a part of the Old Farm Bus, Back of the Bus Sessions podcast. I'm going to leave you on this. I always do, and I always will. Just be nice to one another, you beautiful set of buggers. See you later. Cheers, man.